Ready? All right, I'd like to bring the Parks, Recreation, Leisure Activities Committee meeting to order, April 4th. Do I have any declarations of conflict of interest?
Zero.
Yeah, I have one, Jerry.
Yeah, what's that, Bob?
The resolution.
Oh, the rink with Landmark?
Yes.
Yes, okay, no problem. Okay, Bob has one with Landmark.
That's the beauty of declarations of conflict of interest. See,
What's that?
When you're in conflict, you can declare it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not-
Okay, approve the agenda. The only thing, I want to add a couple of things to the agenda, folks.
Go right ahead.
One of them is Victoria Park Lane closure, just a couple of other updates, volleyball, yeah.
So Victoria Park,
Victoria Park Lane closure, just want to give a little bit of an update. We have approval in the budget for some beach volleyball courts. Let's just give a short update.
that's
on that.
another one, beach
Yeah.
volleyball.
Yeah.
And what's the other one?
Just want to briefly talk about some misinformation that was in an article in the paper over Saturday.
Misinformation.
I want to correct that, yeah.
In the open session, great.
Yeah. We approve of the agenda.
Yes.
Moved by Kevin, second by
Moi.
His Worship. Very Romana. Okay, thank you. Adoption of the minutes from March the 7th. Do I have a mover?
Yes.
Kevin, second by
Good.
Mayor. Okay. Any business arising from the minutes?
None.
Seeing none. Move to reports. The first thing I just want to talk about is one is the Victoria Park Lane closure. So the last 2 years, we apparently have closed at April 1st. That was due to the pandemic. Just want to know where committee is for the 2022 season. Now that we're into it, it's what is it, April 4th. Are we back on schedule with May 1st, or is an appetite to possibly move that closure late up? So I just wanted to run that by the committee and get their opinions.
What one is this item? I'm sorry, Your Worship.
He added it.
Mr. Chairman, in addition.
This was the lane closure that we usually close off the traffic
Right.
inside lane. We usually do it the 1st of May.
Right.
And I just wondered if there's an appetite to look at possibly open that sooner. We'll always, we still have the outside lane for vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is that looking at the weather Sunday, I mean, if we can do it, say, April 15th to somewhere in the middle of the month, might be prudent. So I just want to get committee's input. So, Bobby, where are you on that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. That'd be great.
Okay. Alana?
I'm good with that. The earlier the better. Sounds great.
Okay. Kevin?
I'm good with that. Around
Green light.
Yeah.
Green light.
Okay, so we'll look at
15th.
Frank, do you have any particular, when I say middle of the month?
Yeah, I'll look
15th
at
is
the-
Good Friday.
Is that a Good Friday?
It's Good Friday,
So we
it's
have-
Easter weekend.
Good
So
time
we-
to close it.
Well, no, so we'd have to have staff to do it, so we'll try to do it, see if we can do it April 14th.
Okay.
So what I'll
Okay,
do is.
Thursday, yeah, that's good, the long weekend,
Yeah,
yeah.
so what I'll do is bring a resolution to council, because there has to be one in accordance with bylaw, because we're
Okay.
moving up again.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do that, thank you.
So that's one lane closed and the other.
Closed on Holy Thursday.
That's right, yep.
Okay.
And just on that, it was open to everyone using it last year, but
Yeah.
are we good with it going back to what it was initially intended for, was a bike lane? So what's people's feeling on
Active
that?
transportation pathway.
Yeah, but I'm just wanting to know people.
I think Frank, I know where you're going with it. I think we'll let it go again for this year
Okay.
because we're not over the pandemic yet.
Okay,
People
okay.
still want to separate. I know for my wife and I, we still wear the mask going to a restaurant, so I know that's going to come. But I think for now, we'll tend to do the same as we have the last 2 years. Good
Okay.
point.
I'll make that wording in the
Yeah.
bylaw too, I just want, or in the resolution,
Yeah, thank you.
okay?
The other issue I wanted to bring up was, I just read it yesterday. I guess the paper were late being delivered Saturday, Friday and Saturday. We just got to it Sunday. But anyway, it's an article in there by Kristen Connors.
Kirsten.
What's that?
Kirsten
I'm
Connors.
sorry. It did talk about the information coming to our committee to one person, and it held there for 5 months, and that the city manager, mayor, nobody else knew. And I want to publicly correct that. That is not true. That's not factual. We had our original meeting here, and the CAO was present, The Parks and Rec manager was present. I, as chair of Parks and Rec, was present. The counselor for the area who brought it to us was present, and also a member of finance, and Mr. Murphy and his associate.
Who
So-
was his associate, sir? Was that Brian Gillis?
It was,
Yeah.
So the meeting that was held at that point, that was before the funding got approved, but it's not like it was one person held in secret that the manager knew, and I believe I passed that information on to you, Your Worship, that this was
No.
a possibility.
No, I heard about it in church and I phoned you. That's where I heard about it.
I don't know, but you and I had a conversation about it well before this ever went to council. So it was held, there was nothing really confirmed, there was an offer made until the funding was approved, which is what we told him, that after the funding was approved, we would touch base. And after the funding announcement was approved, he did touch base with us, and the offer was firmed up. It went from to the 15 years at the same amount. And then as this committee, it was taken to this committee as per our duties. This committee discussed it, and it was approved unanimously to move on to finance. The finance committee makes all the financial decisions for the city of Charlottetown. Our recommendation was to move it on there, to accept and to move it on to finance. Finance, at the end of the day, has that discussion, and they make a recommendation to council because it's a financial decision, in which is what they did. My understanding is finance approved it unanimously, sent it off to council. So there's not a lot of information that was there, or to say the things were hidden and so on. It's a question that was put to us. Mr. Murphy, who grew up in the area, wanted to give back to the community. He made that offer. So the only question the council had to make, the only answer was, do you want to go with this naming right or not? And council, at the end of the day, they brought up a number of things during that public meeting, but at the end of the day, it was voted on 7-2. So today, we didn't expect to bring up this quickly, but we will. Having said all that, I think some of the comments we're hearing is that the legacy for Simmons gets lost, which we never had intended and do not intend to lose the legacy of Simmons' name for the gift that they gave the city years ago. I think one of the things is they gave the gift, my understanding was in the 50s, when they donated the land to the city. Is that correct?
It was in parcels. First to Colonel Gray High School, then Colonel Gray. No, Queen Charlotte, Colonel Gray, Spring Park United Church, and Spring Park School. So
Okay.
in different parcels.
So anyway, it's our intention, since amalgamation happened in 95, there's a number of people, whether it's Sherwood, Parkdale, Winslow, West Rhodey, East Rhodey, don't really know the Simmons name, why it was on the building. They don't know the history of it. Our thought was that in the new facility, and we've all seen renders of it, beautiful facility, that the recommendation would be made that we would have now, back it up a bit. All our new builds, we have a policy that we have a percentage of our new builds that goes towards art installation, what have you. I think it's 1%, but I stand to be correct on that. The thought was that in the new build, we would have, contact, and this came, actually the art part of it came from Councillor Lanny Yankoff, which is a great idea. Since we have that art that's supposed to be part of any new build, we thought we would go through the Arts Advisory Committee to come up with some art ideas, but the thought was that we would have the history of the Simmons family that donated the land, and a plaque dedicated to the Simmons and their donation, and thanking the city, thanking them for their donation. So that could be one wall as you come in the facility. Not sure yet, but like I said, the building tenants are just starting to go out now. This come up a little earlier than what we expected, but we thought it was probably best to put that out there because that's something that we have been contemplating on doing. On that first part, I'm assuming that council has no issues with that they would like to move ahead with a recognition wall, some art and memorial plaque dedicating to the Simmons that donated the land. Is that okay, Mr. Ramsey?
Yep.
Mr.
Bobby,
Chair-
you're okay? Alana?
Yeah, you're putting a wall up for them?
No, it will be part of the foyer. So when you walk in, it'll be similar to what you see at the QEH.
So in other words, Bob, I talked to some people in Brighton that had their kids brought up across the street from Simmons that didn't really know where the name Simmons came from. They knew it was a contest at the school and they didn't really know the history of it. So what the thought is that we could give the history in the new facility. So when people walk in and they want to read the wall, they'll read the history of the Simmons and who donated it and why, and the art part. I'm only surmising here, but it could be what the farmland looked like at the time they donated to the city. But there would be a history of the family and a history of the donation and a memorial towards them, and thank the city of Charlottetown, thanking them for that donation, and that should live on for years.
That would be nice, yeah.
Yeah. The second part of that, and I know it's been talked about in some circles, a possibility of when you walk into the facility, the rink itself, the arena itself would be called the Simmons Arena, and the pool area itself would be named the Simmons Pool. So those would definitely be staying,
Yeah.
in as long as the building stands. So
Plus
that,
the fields, Mr. Chair, will also be called Simmons Fields, right?
they are now,
Yes.
yeah.
I know that's going to change, exactly.
No. So, just wanted to see where the committee was on that, if everybody was okay with that, if there's any comments on that. So I'll go with Alana first.
Because she's the farthest. She's the farthest.
I think it sounds like, a great idea. And so you were saying that you would not only look at the Arts Advisory Board, maybe doing out a call for submission on how they could reflect the history of Simmons, as well as you mentioned too, you cut out a little bit there, the name Simmons would still remain within that facility. Just remind me where that would be again.
And the name is still.
Yeah, so what we're talking about, Alana, is, can you hear me no problem?
You get the mic right there. You're all
I
right.
can now, yeah.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is, when you walk inside the facility, the new facility when it's completed, when you walk inside, there will be a wall, we'll call it a memorial wall for lack of a better word right now. So there'll be some art and a plaque dedicated to the Simmons that donated the property to the city of Charlottetown. Because a lot of people don't even know when, why, and who the Simmons are. People that live in the Brighton area for the most part, that lived there for a while, yes, they would know, but the amalgamated communities of Charlottetown, a lot of them wouldn't. So that would be one, and you're right, we would send that to the Arts Advisory Board so they can look at some possible designs of what it could look like, and they could send it out to local pilot artists to submit on. The other portion of it was the actual Simmons rink. When you walk into the arena, similar to the Carrier facility or the Bell Alliance Center, where you walk in, you'll have the rinks named after McLaughlin. And this rink would be named the Simmons Arena on the inside. The pool would be named the Simmons Pool. The outside would still have the naming of the Murphy on the outside of the building. Okay?
Yep.
Nice, Bob. Councillor, do you want to, Councillor Duran too?
Councilor Durant already gave his opinion.
Okay.
Do you have anything there, Councilor Durant?
Well, no, Terry, I appreciate that. I agree with the wall. I know
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of concerned people writing and calling about changing the name altogether. So anything that we can do to make people aware of the Simmons legacy would certainly be, an added bonus. I'd agree with anything like that. I was one of those people that I lived in the surrounding outside areas of Charlottetown. In Sherwood, I grew up and I had no idea about the background of Simmons. So, I've learned a lot over the last couple of weeks about it. So certainly anything we can do to keep the name and to keep the legacy, I'd certainly support.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. That's the same with me, growing up in Sherwood, and again, that's why I think a lot of the amalgamated areas. So that this will be, when someone walks into the building, that everyone will know where the land came from and the donation and the history of it. So I just think that it sounds to me like no one wants to lose that legacy. It was certainly a fantastic gift for the city to receive at the time. So we have no intentions of letting that fall by the wayside. So. We thought we would bring this out now. It was something that we had talked about, the possibility of bringing it out once the building started. But we thought that we would bring it out now in lieu of some of the concerns that people have. So, anyway, Your Worship, do you have any comment?
You want to comment for me? Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Mr. Chair, I appreciate all the feedback we've received from residents of Charlottetown and outside about the name and the history behind it. But speaking to Natalie Munn, who is our heritage officer, her, along with her former teacher, Gordy McCarville, have done a lot of history on the pop industry in Charlottetown and the island.
Okay.
And the book that Gordy wrote covers the Simmons family and their part of or influence in the pop industry. It was G.H. Simmons pop. And when I was growing up, G.H. Simmons pop was like Siemens pop or Sussex pop. It was a pop that was available. So I really appreciate that we're looking at staying the same, Frank, with Simmons Arena, Simmons Pool, and the Simmons Commons or the Simmons Sportsplex for the fields. Again, we will be enhancing the history of the family with this wall of memories. And you know what? Some have said to me, that could also include the Spud tournaments that took place down there, or April Wine when they played there in 1974. There's so much history to that building that it would be very, very much a great addition, including the name of the Simmons family. But again, this is not to discount the generosity of Mr. Murphy and his unsolicited offer to make a donation and to give back to the community. No different than, Mr. Chair, than with 3 levels of government, the federal, provincial, and municipal, making a contribution of almost $25 million to replace a facility that was built in 1972, 1973. And there's been discussion since what, Frank? 2012, the last report that went out?
2012 was the
Yeah,
report.
and nothing was done since then. This chair come in within a year with warp speed. We're now going to tender what? April, May, or
We'll
June?
be hopefully going out today for our first one.
Within a year.
First one, yeah.
Right? And a brand new facility with a NHL size rink, correct, Mr. Chair?
It is. Yeah.
25-meter pool, an elevated walking track,
With
and
an elevator.
with the option to keep this facility open year-round for pickleball, possibly indoor tennis. Like the possibilities of this new facility are staggering, and I believe that a compromise from yourself and from the committee about keeping the names. A lot of, as you said, there's misinformation out there. We were going to sell the names for the sports fields. That was never discussed. We were going to sell the name for the pool. That was never discussed, or the rink. So fully supportive, and I think I've asked Frank if we can get renderings as soon as possible of how this will look inside, just as a way of a template. All the better for all of us.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
I think that's one thing Alana brought up. It'd be nice to get the Arts Advisory in to get what they would consider to be a template too.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Your Worship.
And again,
And
Mr. Chair, just one thing, as I said, 2012, we had a report. I think Jeremy Pierce
Jeremy Pierce,
conducted the field study. 2012, nothing. Then last year, we're off to the races. And here we are, almost around the corner, starting construction, hopefully this summer. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you. And we do have a schedule of the next 3 tenders when they plan on going out. So as Frank said, the first one's today.
It's one of 6.
Yeah.
So what's the first tender going out?
It's
Steel,
the
pre-built
pre-engineered
steel.
building and the panels.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not going through a GC on this, a general contractor? We're gonna oversee it ourselves, all these tenders?
It's going out for initial part, and then each one breaks down. We have a project manager that's going to actually be
Jim Kane.
overseeing each component of it. So this is the best way of actually getting it.
Thank you,
So-
sir.
Thank you for your comments. Councilor Randy.
Thank you, Chair. And I agree with everything that's going on, and I really like the thought of a mural and everything like that. And I researched this since this started too, and I didn't realize until recently that there was a naming contest at the schools. And, like, I just thought it was automatically called Simmons because they put the land out, so that sort of clarified that for me, that there was a naming right, so that couldn't call anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, underneath the sun, but I'm in full favor of this. And to sort of piggyback on the mayor's comments, we're finally getting a new facility that has to be done, and there's gonna be more on it, and just on a sidebar there too, Mr. Chair, I had a call from a senior lady that she plays pickleball, and she's hoping that we're gonna be able to play pickleball in there also, because they're driving Stratford down, they're driving everywhere else, and they're getting pushed out of schools. So she's very hopeful that we can do that for the seniors around here too.
Right on, right on. And you brought up a point that I'm just gonna stress on it. My understanding from what I've been hearing, that the Simmons, when they donated the land, didn't want a lot of fanfare.
Right.
That's why you'll see, the schools are named what they are, or Spring Park
Correct.
Church is named what they are.
Yeah.
Having said all that, I think that a memorial in their memory and from what they've done for the city of Charlottetown is appropriate for this new facility. And then their legacy will last on forever. So,
Yeah.
thank you very much, everyone. That will move on to council. We'll
Yes.
make that recommendation and move on to the next council meeting. Okay. Everybody's in favor of that?
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Motion, Mr. Chair.
You need a motion to move that in? Okay. Can I have a mover and a seconder to move that on to council? Those recommendations, please.
Second.
Moved by Kevin, second by his worship. All in favor? Bobby?
Okay.
In favor?
Alana, thank you. Okay, your worship?
Yes, sir.
Unanimous, okay, thank you.
Straight ahead there, Mr. Chair. Well done.
The only other thing, I'm just gonna give a quick update, the open session was, we have approval in our budget for some beach volleyball courts. So I'm having some conversations with a tournament that's coming here in late August. It's called the North Sika Beach Volleyball Tournament. They bring in the, obviously the highest quality sand. It's a national tournament. So there's sand coming, the appropriate sand, and it's coming from, I believe, Antigonish. So it's going to be, this tournament's going to be held in the events grounds. So we are in consultation with them to try and get the sand from them, as opposed and get it for a real good deal, if there's any price at all. So we're in consultation with them right now. So we'll let you know how those go. So far, it's been receptive. So still waiting for confirmation on that, and I'll bring that back to council. But just to let everybody know that we haven't forgotten. We're looking to build those volleyball courts this summer, and if we can get this sand, this is not just beach sand that you would get. This is the appropriate stuff, and it doesn't blow around or whatever. It's a heavier grade of sand. So if the city was to host any national tournaments or whatever, we would have the right sand, and of course it's built to the right size and so on. So
Mr. Chair,
just an update
how many courts are we sort of looking at for this tournament? Would you know?
for the tournament.
Yes.
North Sika tournament.
Yeah.
That's their tournament. I'm not sure. I'm gonna guess, Kevin, but I don't wanna. I'm thinking it was 5,
Okay.
but I can stand to be corrected.
Yeah.
They will have their tournament on the asphalt. They build courts out from it.
Correct.
The ones we're looking for is courts to be built for public use.
Yes.
And they would be on the element of the grass portion. So there's still some more work left to be done there, but I just want to give everybody an update.
And Mr. Chair, are we cross reference or working with economic development on this tournament? Is it being spearheaded by them or us?
I believe that particular tournament, I think there's some search funding that's been part of that, and it's been the provincial government under tourism. That's been also part funding.
Right.
As a tourism initiative. So we heard it was coming. I did touch base with Wayne Long, and I also touched base with some people with beach volleyball, and we could hook up with Chris. That's the organizer of the tournament. So we've had a couple of meetings so far on the possibility of getting the sand and what kind of price we would get the sand for. And so we're still looking for some other financial help, possibly coming from other partners.
So, Mr. Chair, identifying sites for a permanent beach volleyball venue. Have you looked at West Royalty, East Royalty, or what are we looking at? Do we know that?
Well, we're asking right now, and we haven't had feedback. My understanding is that there's been some reception to it, but we're asking the possibility through CADC if we can have these at the events ground.
Just leave them there?
The forecourts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they'd have the view of the water and so on.
Okay.
That
Very
Great.
good idea.
Yeah.
Great.
That's a
So
nice area.
that's going to be reconstructed anyway, so, but we're waiting for an answer. We haven't got a confirmed answer yet. That's something, because that's where the tournament's gonna be.
Right.
So there wouldn't be a lot of transporting while that's there. And then there's parking area for those that want to use it. So we think
It's a good site.
we think so, yeah. But it's not confirmed, so.
I just
Those
wanna-
conversations are being had.
Just want to make sure, Frank, Christopher, is that, you know, the communication is going on between other committees, standing committees, economic development, you know, let's work outside the silos. Just want to, again, it's just keeping everybody abreast or keep them up to speed on what's happening.
And the last thing I'll bring up, Your Worship, just a touch base. I know we've brought up in our public meetings before, but seeing that the Parks and Rec Department over the years, we've kind of fallen behind in the infrastructure that we need. Having said that, talking to baseball PEI, they need at least 2 more ball diamonds. Ideally, if the registrations continue the way they've been the last 2 years, they will need 4 within 2 years. What happens now is they don't have the time to practice. It's just basically all of the fields that they have are just games, and no time to practice. We're at least 2 soccer fields short in the Sherwood Association, and my understanding is with West Raleigh there's at least 1 mini field shortage. We have no pickleball courts. We have no
Cricket field.
cricket field. So we're obviously short some of the traditional sports, and then we don't have, there's not a lot of the new immigrant sports being talked about yet. So we're trying to get some land. I brought up before that if anybody knew some land, possibility we could use. Now, having said all that, is it a possibility that the land that we're looking to be annexed into the city in East Raleigh, out between M&M Furniture and Jules Country Garden, is a huge plot of land there. We could see a lot of it being commercial on the St. Peter's side and even the York Road side. But end up behind, if you had a sport complex where you're not near residential homes and you have lights on the fields and so on, would that be a good spot? We think it's a possibility. I believe, Mr. Kelly, we're talking possibly 12 acres. That would be land in lieu comes to the city. So if you wanted to build a complex like municipalities are doing all across Canada and United States now, where you keep them all together, there's a possibility that we maybe, we can buy another 12 acres and have 24 acres there for a sports complex. That may work out really well and get caught up in the sports we need and get the new sports, pickleball courts and so on. So anyway, just wanted to bring that up. We don't have that land annexed in yet. My understanding, though, it is with the province right now. So.
Mr. Chair, just on that, are the courts a capital investment? The beach volleyball or an operational investment?
Capital.
It is capital.
$100,000 we have.
Okay, that's in the budget for this year. Okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, at some point in time, I think the 3 municipalities, Stratford, Charlottetown, and Cornwall, have to sit down with some of the respective chairs of their standing committees and look at more of a regional approach on how we develop our infrastructure for sports and recreation. And that way we can take pressure off us as a municipality and share the responsibility, because I know you're of the same view. Shared services, strong communities. So I think some point in time we have to really look at that, because it's something that will be a benefit to the whole region.
No, and I don't disagree. And on top of that, Your Worship, we do have, as everybody knows, Stratford has been growing quite rapidly for years.
And Cornwall.
We are exploding now also, especially out in East Raleigh.
Yeah.
Every time you drive by there, you seem to find more buildings going up and more subdivisions being approved. So we need to get going on the sport infrastructure. So anyway, just thought they brought that up. There is some talk going on there, and we'll see this land, if and when it gets annexed in, we'll have some conversations in. At least there's a pool of property that we'll own. So, anything else? Any comments on that? So we'll move on to, really pleased to see this tender coming up. This is the resolution to award the West Raleigh Community Center Multi-Sport Outdoor Facility tender. This is the very same as the one we have in Hillsborough Park with the Gordy Griffin Outdoor Facility.
I think Councilor Drone.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Bob. Do you want to pop out of this one?
What's this going to be called? The Rivard Outdoor?
Rena?
Yeah, sure. We can hang out or leave the room, but
Okay.
Probably they come back in.
Pardon?
You should leave and then come back again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll send you a text, Bob, when you can come back again.
okay then. See you later.
Yeah.
You have his phone? You have his phone and text him?
I do.
Sure. so-
Yeah, we,
I got it, I got it.
So anyway, this is a resolution to award the West Rotary Community Center multi-sport outdoor facility tender. We're really glad to get this off the ground, so we can have this done for the kids out there for next year. Kids and adults, everybody gets to enjoy it. It's a multi-sport facility. We see the success from the one in Hillsborough Park. So we know that this will be successful also. This will be going behind the West Rotary Community Center. So not only can they use it during the day with the kids at the community center, but this will be, again, hoping to use this year round, very similar to the one in Hillsborough Park. It will be lit up and paved surface, so they'll be able to play a lot of sports the summer and the winter. And one of the things I've noticed in Hillsborough Park is there's a lot of kids learn to ride their bikes in it in the summer. Keeps them off the street when they're learning to ride a bike and nice and safe. So, and there's been some pickleball played in there. There's been there's talk now. There's been some lacrosse, and now they want to have a lacrosse league started up. So it's yeah, these are great facilities, and glad to see this here is moving forward. Go ahead, Frank.
All right, yeah, so I'll just provide a brief overview. The backgrounder sort of gives the details on it. Christopher Drummond is going to be the lead in this project, so he's took over from Mike, so he's going to be the lead on this project. With regards to, we went out to tender for 2 weeks. We received 2 bids. They were reasonably priced bids, slightly higher than what we had budgeted, and it's just the time of where we're at with regards to the supply chain and the price of things. But surprisingly, it wasn't as over budget as we anticipated. So what were indicated, we had 285 budgeted, 100,000 of that being partnership funding from a COA. We reviewed the bids, and like I indicated, they were slightly higher, so we removed 2 of the items from the scope of work that's not needed because of how we sort of have changed the design of the outdoor facility, sports facility. Having said that, we still have a shortfall of $28,800. This money will be reallocated from the old PE home property development account, which is still pending at this time and unknown when it's going to proceed. So we have this tender now. We want to get it awarded because contractors and everyone are very busy and they're getting booked up. So we revised the low bid from Landmark Construction. It's deemed to be a fair price for the scope of work. Staff is recommending to proceed with awarding this tender. If the work's awarded, it would commence as soon as possible and then be completed by the end of July. Outside of that, the Landmark part of it is the biggest component of the allocation, the resolution, but there's also a small allocation for Coles Associates who will be doing the professional services when it's being built.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Councilor Andy?
Yes, thank you for that, Frank and Chair. I noticed we got 100,000 being with partnership with the COA. Was there other discussions about another sponsorship back in the day when we were looking at that with the Lions or something like that?
Not now.
Not now?
It was something
So that's off the
previously
table.
that fell through, so
We
that's
were-
what we went
at
by.
that- At that time, Kevin, we were looking for, we had been over budget
Right,
last year, and so we were looking for the possibility of other partners.
okay.
But anyways, that didn't work out, and the problems, when we talked the problems with being a partnership, they set us up with this funding stream.
Okay.
And it's actually part of, it's a federal funding stream, and it met the criteria, and we got approved for it, so we got $100,000 coming towards the project.
Excellent.
Yeah. And just a bit of a follow-up, we've made a couple improvements to the design based on our first one out at Hillsborough, so we've made a couple improvements where we hope will actually help be able to hold water in it when we put ice in it at the start of the year to get it frozen. So we've made a couple changes to it and a drainage as well. So
And we may get some other funding from the province as far as like the building to put the skates on, the rubber mats going to and from the rink and in that building, and the hockey net and stuff, that's still, we're waiting.
So
on
the
that.
285, that's including 100,000 from the co-op? Or is our cost gonna be 185? Because 100,000 is off that.
Well, the price is $282,
282,
and we're getting $100,000 funding,
so it's 182 basically for the city's cost.
if it stays at that price.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, we thought so.
So,
As opposed to last year, I think there was talk about us going back and asking finance for more money.
Oh, yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, could I ask the manager on the scope, you changed 4 rows of 40-foot by 11, 100-foot mill ice rink tall. So is that on the rink, the outdoor facility in Hillsborough Park?
We tried it last year, the previous year it didn't work because the wind and whatnot kept lifting it, so we're making a modification to it where we're actually putting puckboard around the bottom, sealing it, and painting the whole surface, and then it'll actually hold the water in there. That's what the new design is going to be.
So you don't need this 40?
You don't need the poly. It's
We try, what happens is you get air gaps underneath it.
Yeah.
So when they're flying the right, there's air gaps, and when the kid's skate cuts it,
Yeah.
water on it.
So, and the 12 tubes of Dyna caulking?
That's what you use for sticking the plastic together. You can't get a full sheet of plastic
That's
So
60
12
by
tubes would
40.
be what, $1,000, $2,000 for that stuff?
I don't know the exact amount.
Because
But we're not using that.
No,
time
we're
right
not
away.
using it.
The only difference between what you tendered and then re-tendered is about $12,000. So you're saving that by taking out those 2 items.
2 items and the cash allowance, so one other.
Yeah,
item
I saw
was
the
bid.
cash
We put at $5,000 just in case, because we weren't sure where things were gonna be at, but after reviewing it and we reviewed the scope of work, it is actually, we feel we can stay within that budget.
So the cash allowance is the contingency? Fine.
It's more or less a contingency.
Yeah.
If something come up after the tender, it's something that the engineers will somehow want to
So
put in.
we got 2 outdoor venues that'll be the same.
That'll be, yeah, more or less the
Okay.
same. We've made just a couple improvements to this one where we're actually sinking the actual asphalt a little bit to allow to hold the water. So we made a few, learning the first one we built over at the Gordy Griffin.
Yeah.
A few things we needed to modify, so we've modified it now in this design, and we're going back and making those changes to the
And
Gordy Griffin one.
Mr. Chair, is there any way that we can incorporate using the West Royalty Community Centre as, like, I know the issue with the Gordy Griffin outdoor facility is that the Hillsborough Hall is here and the rink or the venue's on the other. Are we going to be close to the venue and the Royalty Centre, or are we going to be?
In
Do we-
this,
do
we're
you know-
probably just as close as we are at Hillsborough. They're in the same, Hillsborough's on one, on each side of the parking lot, we have to.
Yeah,
So
It's going to the north end.
It's going
correct?
behind the community center.
Go behind the community
North side.
Yeah, behind the community center.
So they'll have access, and that's one of the things we found very useful, is that they have access to the washrooms, they have access, if there's an event going on.
Yeah.
They have access to the community center.
Yeah, like, and that's what we're doing with the new Aqua Arena facilities, that we'll have dressing rooms for the soccer players, rugby
right.
players
Yeah.
at Simmons. So,
Yeah.
at Simmons, when the new facility for Simmons will have, my understanding is that we'll have dressing rooms that will face onto the north.
We have 2 washroom facilities. Dressing rooms won't be available. What they'll be is if there was a tournament or whatnot, then they would be able to access the facility to go inside and use the dressing rooms. But they will have access to washroom.
Just to
facilities.
washrooms.
Yeah, washroom facilities. For the most part, soccer players.
It's
they
just
come-
to change
they come there.
facilities, what it really is.
Yeah,
It's
so they can go in
changing
and
and
wash
have
and
washroom.
change kind of thing. It's not a locker rooms. But if there's big tournaments, which we've done before, like huge tournaments, they can have access to the
Right,
main
yeah.
facility and whatnot.
But again, my analogy here is that we have a West Royalty Community Center with the Hillsborough Hall. It's great that we can
Yeah.
use both when people are using the facility.
That's what we try to do, yeah.
Winter, spring, whatever season. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So anything else on that?
So I guess just to have
I'll
people
give it up
support,
on
Councilman Aaron, just I guess we talked about it just to make sure we get everyone on side.
And you need the motion also.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll move it.
moved by Kevin Ramsey, seconded by His
Move.
Worship, that we
Move.
move the resolution to award the West Royalty Community Center multi-sport outdoor facility tender.
Support the finance.
Pardon me?
To forward the finance and then on the council.
I'm not sure why you need a resolution for that, because it's been approved in the capital budget,
But
and
this
we've
is,
got the tender coming back, so
this
now.
is, this is the actual tender that we're going to.
Yeah, so we would just forward that to finance. If we agree here with it, we would just forward it to finance. Like, I can't see why you need a resolution, because resolutions don't count in here anyway.
No,
So it's consensus to move it on to finance, is it not?
Yeah.
Okay, and we have that.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that?
Wait. Good.
Okay, Leanne, are you okay?
She's
I'm
probably
okay,
asleep.
yeah.
Okay.
Probably fell asleep on us.
Maybe somebody want that for Robert?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now, Bobby. Good. So, that would be it for the open session. So now it's motion to move into closed sessions for section 119.1, subsection E, and matters still under consideration
I'll move it.
of the PEI Municipal Government Act. Moved by Kevin Ramsey, seconded by
Good,
His
sir.
Worship.
If-